Oh, hello, everyone. Today we're with Thomas, and we have matching Wicked clothes. Sure, yes. Yours actually looks a little, well, I've had mine for a while. Yours looks brand spanking new. I've had, I think, mine for almost a year, so it looks a little worn, but we're eating ramen out of skulls. It's a metal time today for this third episode of Interview with a Fox. And if you want to get that shirt, it's not a paid promo. Wow. But Thomas and I were talking beforehand. I should somehow get like a special link to Wicked Clothes because Thomas is the first person that I was like, get this shirt. And then KC, which a friend, I think he got at least one Edgar Allan Poe shirt. So when I go on his YouTube page, whenever, I don't even know, or it will also match. So, if you want to match and be metal with dad jokes, I think Wicked Clothes has updated their tagline to goth, but with dad jokes. Oh my God, that's so good. That's good branding. I love that branding.
Sounds like it fits.
Yes, it does. Instead of going on more about Wicked Clothes, because I could, and I'm not going to, because it's not even paid, and that's a little awkward, because this isn't a clothing, beauty, anything. We're just going to ask the question that is the only question that's planned out, which would be, Thomas, how did we meet?
Well, it was third grade. And you passed me a letter, said, "Hey, could you shower? You stink." And it had a yes and no, and because I couldn't really read very well,
or maybe,
or maybe
you could do water, but without soap. Is that gonna be good enough?
I've heard people literally say, "I don't use soap. The water is good enough," and I tell these people, that's not true.
It's not true.
That is not true.
No.
They're usually, it's a guy, and I was like, if that's true, then you need to tell the women you make love to, hey, just so you know, I didn't use soap when I showered.
Oh, yeah.
And see if they stay. And if they don't,
not gonna stay.
they're not gonna stay.
No.
It's not their thing.
Unless they have the same hygiene.
Oh yeah, like if they're I'm not knocking hippies, but if they're a hippie, usually like a shower, 6-7 weeks.
There are a lot of hippies around here, and I don't really like passing them by. Also, they have a problem. This is gonna be really random. They have a problem with they're like not leashing their dogs, and then I have to deal with having to do like a standoff with their stupid dog that's trying to go after my ankles. Or there was this one lady with a golden retriever, which you don't think golden retrievers are aggressive.
They just want to be on you.
If they're not trained, they're gonna get on you, and I'm just like, get your dog off me. Or just get like, oh my God, he's friendly. I don't care. I don't know you. I don't know your dog.
Yeah,
also,
he's biting me. That's not funny.
Yeah, he's snarling, and he's muzzle punching my arm. I don't think that he's nice. Thank you very much.
It's a doggy dog world, I tell you. Yeah, so the hippies definitely don't shower, and it's I've seen that because they have that free mentality, like, yeah, the dog doesn't need a leash, they're free. Which I think is how we met, actually. My dog. No, how we met through the YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube algorithm. I don't know who commented first.
I believe it might have been me, because I was like, "What's going on?" And you were like, "Stay away."
Emma was like, I commented on your videos a lot for months, and then you just finally paid attention to me. I'm like, I don't even know if that's what I'm doing. No, I think I comment to everyone. Yeah. Unless it's spam. Then it just goes to that spam
Yeah.
whatever hold. I'm like, I don't care because you're spamming my channel. I don't know what you
Yeah, the thing where
want
they're
from me.
like, we could do marketing for your YouTube channel, and you're just
Oh
like,
my god, yeah. I get those on occasion. Well, actually, I would say once or twice a month in the that email that I put up. uh yeah, I'm like, I'm great. Thank you so much. I'm doing fine. But
it's a
yeah.
strange place, YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah, you can find great things and horrible things and stuff in the middle, but I think that's life in general.
Have you ever found anything that was terrible, but you're like, I feel like I'm learning something from this?
Uh, maybe like history documentaries that are about something depressing. I don't know which I've watched that's really depressing. I have on my watch later like a almost hour-long documentary on Merlin.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to gather myself and be a little more studious because you do have to pay attention to that,
Yeah.
not just endlessly listening and then also playing on my phone or whatever. Um, but that's been there for a few weeks. I have not been interested in paying attention.
Well, I heard the Merlin documentary was a magical experience. Um,
I Yeah, I don't know, how many Merlin documentaries there are, but it is, out of England, so I think they know a little thing or 2,
yeah,
maybe
yeah.
just 1 thing.
Because it's
'Cause
supposedly that he was real, right? Like him and Arthur were real, but like the stories have been obviously embellished. But you know,
yeah, big debate. I don't know if they're gonna find, any bodies for that. They supposedly found Arthur's castle in
hmm
Wales, and don't ask me how to pronounce that 'cause, it's like and
oh yeah,
yeah. Yeah, it's that one. I know it starts with a T.
see,
And
that's
then it
why
just
fantasy
goes
novels have
on.
long names.
Oh, yeah. No, well, I can't I can't try Welsh. I can't do Gaelic, and I can actually, no, I can't do, Irish either, but I kinda had to with my, uh, Irish historical fiction novel, and then I just put a glossary in the beginning of how you pronounce these Irish words, and then I go back and I look at them
Yeah,
because I'm like, "Oh, no."
how do we
Eh,
get through this?
I don't it does not sit in my brain, and it doesn't stay. I'll say a word in any of the Celtic languages 10 times, and then it's gone.
It's
So,
got. It's like I closed the book.
I don't know.
Are you a fan of books that don't give away how to pronounce names, or do you like to know the names?
I like the names. I was reading um, Kevin Hearn's Iron Druid Chronicles, and he did the same thing at the front, but he has way more names. And
hmm
so I didn't know this was a thing, but in his introduction before the glossary, he said, "Oh, you don't have to pronounce these correctly because it's hard,
Yeah.
but if you do, here's the list." And I was like, yeah, it's true. I still can't pronounce the female, the kind of love interest, but she also becomes a druid. It's a weird thing. I just call her G.
G is fine.
Starts with a G, and I have tried very hard to memorize her name, but then again, I got to the last book and she screwed it all over. So she doesn't deserve actually her full name. She's just G, and
She's
I
not
don't like her.
Ganedria. Ganedria. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't she's annoying. Her middle name is Homewrecker.
G Homewrecker annoying.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it.
Uh, but yeah, I think that was the only time I saw a glossary, but it's always with the Irish or actually just Celtic names.
Yeah. I think what makes it difficult though is that like the rules associated with different languages doesn't always, like when we look at English words, you know, the only rule I think that is universal is that every syllable has to have a minimum of one vowel sound. And I think that's universal in all languages. But when you're looking at names that have like a, you know, AE, you know, the language might determine that first A is a part of the beginning and the second E is something else. But in English, AE would make a sound, you know, but if you're looking at a Gaelic name, you know, the rules are up in the roof, you know?
Yeah. There's a name. It's what was it? You spell it AOIFE, and you're like, how do you say that? It's Aoife. I'm like, what are you talking about? Aoife. No. Aoife. It's a little that's when I was like, yeah, I need a gloss.
Now, did you make that name up, or is that a name you saw in a book?
Oh no, it's an Irish name.
It's an Irish. Did they realize that
Female
the O
Irish
and the A is silent? And then
yeah, basically. And then you also have like the GH or the AGH does not. Yeah. It just, I don't even know what happened there. We just dropped that actually. Like for my pen name, I had to change it from Nicole Fox to Nicole Brona. Yeah. And Brona's a Irish, female Irish name, but it's what I chose was like the very short version. It's just, but if you look it up, she's a saint, and it ends with the AGH, but it's just Brona.
Okay.
Brona, and then AGH at the end. I'm like, you know, we're just gonna go with that other shortened version, which it was a little
Bruna.
Yeah, it was a little too late to be like, oh yeah, let's go full on Irish. It's just half Irish right now.
Well, are you full Irish or are you Irish German?
I am a lot of things. Irish, Scottish, French. What did I say? I'm so no. Okay, wait. Nah, I'm just kidding. Irish, Scottish, English, German, French, and Swedish.
Swedish. Okay.
Basically, it's just it's the Germans and the Norse and the Celts just in that area, and they were doing.
Yeah, you have a very Irish face. Is like
Yeah, I had a French doctor like from France for a long time, and the first day I come in and he's like, bonjour, hi, and then he starts speaking French. I'm like, no, I'm not. And he said, oh, I'm so sorry, you look very French.
you look French.
I'm like, okay, I've never gotten that before. I've gotten Irish. Didn't get French, like at all. And then randomly he would forget that I am American. And I have no idea French, no idea. And then he would just start speaking French. I'm like,
no parlez français.
Yeah, no. He's like, oh, I'm so sorry.
Je ne sais quoi.
Like, you're just so French, Nicole. I'm like, I don't think I am. Because you're the first one. And then, but most of his most of his staff and his clients were French. So I guess he was seeing a lot of French.
Was this in Canada?
Oh, this is in Maryland, which was very random.
That is really random.
I was like, oh, there's a big French population in Maryland. Okay. Basically, it's just a big population of everyone in the DC, Maryland area. So just assume.
The Maryland.
Maryland.
I was actually having a conversation with a friend the other day about, you know, ethnicity, you know, and all this. And like, what's the rule? You know, like how many generations back makes you what you are? And, you know, if it's all the way back, we're all African if we believe in the science that we come from the African continent, right? But if it's like 3 generations back, like you and I are technically Native Americans because we were born in America, our parents were born in America, and our grandparents were born in America, which means generationally
No,
we're
you're going off there.
no,
Have you had this conversation with Maggie? I think she might be like, I don't think so, Thomas.
no, I'm not saying I'm a Native American Indian. I'm
Yeah, no, she'd
saying
like talk, go backwards.
go back, go back.
go stop, and Maggie would be like, Thomas.
Yeah,
Because
she'd
that's
be
what
like,
I'm.
cool your pants.
Also, yeah, because I don't know. It was a lot of immigration. I don't trust. Um, I don't trust Ancestry.com. I don't trust 23andMe for various reasons.
Yeah,
I don't want them to have my DNA. That's what. I have mine. This is mine. Thank you.
yeah,
But also, I've had two friends that are legit Cherokee, and
yeah.
they've done the 23andMe, and it didn't pop up.
Oh, that's interesting.
But then they're like, I have family on the reservation. Like it's not. Well, yeah, my dad Cherokee. Like it does.
Yeah,
It doesn't. I don't
yeah.
like 23.
They're like, I'm Cherokee
Um,
people, Cherokee tribe. We're right here, you know.
yeah. So like 23andMe has a problem with indigenous, um, like it not showing up,
The
but
genetics of it, yeah.
you're there, like, and it's interesting that they are both Cherokee, did not pop up, but they're right there. Like it doesn't. That's
Yeah.
another thing where I'm like, no, I don't like that.
Yeah, I don't wanna well, like the Native Americans,
Situation.
they you broke up, Nicole. Oh, there you go.
Oh,
You're back.
I'm here.
You're back.
Yay. Okay.
There's so you remember when the continent was one big continent and like people were like
Hmm.
traveling to different areas of the
Yeah.
world? The Native Americans of North and South America actually have the DNA descendants of Asian people.
Oh my god, I hate it. Okay. Technical difficulties happened. So that's why you might see some weirdness. But aren't we used to weirdness on this channel?
Mhm.
Yes. It's okay.
Mhm.
It's okay. Okay. I don't know where we were before my internet decided to say I hate StreamYard and kick me out. But go ahead.
We were on the dissatisfaction of the genetic intake of the government through those
Oh yeah.
ancestry things, and also how we're actually probably more connected and less because my argument, philosophically speak, this is not me definitively discrediting anyone's belief or lifestyle, but philosophically speaking, uh we all come from Africa, right? Because the it's where the human race comes from. But if you look at territories, right, like the Roman Empire took over a large territory, and they were all now considered Romans. And then the Greeks did it, and then the Mongolians did it, and like Germany changed size, England changed size, and it's like I always have that argument. It's like, what are we really? Because generationally speaking, there is a point where somebody had taken over the territory with a different name. Just like Russians are no longer Russian, like, you know what I'm saying? Like they were the Soviet Union and then Russia, and then the Ukrainians are no longer Russians. And like my friends who are Ukrainian are like, they get mad when people say, oh, you're from Russia. Right. And well, they should be, because they departed from that union. But now that changes them. They are considered Ukrainian, not Soviets or Russians or whatever. Right. So that's why I like kind of like had that conversation with a friend, because we were talking about like when you write fantasy, the big thing is about you don't want to do cultural appropriation, or you don't want to do disservices to nationalities and stuff. And that's like, yeah, but with fantasy you could create your own world that has nothing to do with anything Earth. And like, where do you write mostly historical fiction, right? Do you have, but don't you have a fantasy, right? A sci-fi that's doesn't take place on Earth, if I remember, or
No, I have a um Irish historical fantasy that's set in Ireland, but it's based on Irish myths and legends, and so there's magic. And then there's a very, very, very light historical fantasy set during the Puritan times.
Mm.
And like it's light fantasy
Like
because she can see into the future and that's the magic, right? And then just historical fiction is Revolutionary War, American Revolutionary War. But then I have the urban fantasy detective series coming out under the pen name, where it's an alternative universe because it's set in Earth, and but like the difference is if neo-pagans and Wiccans were correct in that there is an other dimension where all of the what you would say mythical creatures, but they say other beings are because they're corporeal. They're not physical like us, so they have to be in a different dimension, but they can go back and forth. And
That's
if you have enough basically magic, which would in your veins, which would be like Tessa, the main character, down the line, someone, consensual or not, had relations with a elf, and so now she can see other beings, and that also includes ghosts and dragons, and so it's
really
just
cool.
all the other beings. She can see them, but no one else can because she has that magic in there. So that's, and I base that off of what neo-pagans and Wiccans, at least the ones that I grew up with. I don't know what's going on with them now because I'm an atheist now, so things could have changed, but I really doubt it.
They could be poker players. You don't know.
Yeah, you know. What they thought was that there were like psychics, but there were very rare people that could see everything. So ghosts and fairies and house fairies and elves in the woods and yada yada. And also seen into the future or whatever. But that was the whole basis of that alternative universe. To them, it's real.
Yeah.
Alternative universe. And then Tessa teams up with a vampire that she can see, and they solve magical murders.
Interesting. But you get to play with the fantasy element. You can do what you want with that, and you can create. But you still have to tether it to at least something earthbound.
Yeah. So the urban fantasy setting, it's for every other book, it's going to be in DC. But then, so like for the second one, and the fourth one, and the sixth one, they're in different big cities.
Okay, that's interesting.
So like the second one right now is their exciting, because I don't think anyone knows. I'm currently writing that they're in Santa Fe, and there were a bunch of dead fairies that showed up on a Navajo man's lawn. And these fairies that are based in Celtic and English and Welsh myths and legends, they're not supposed to be in the desert. They're like, why are there 12 dead fairies with horrible gashes and wounds all over their bodies on this man's lawn? Like, we don't get it. Why? Also here, because you have clothes made out of rose petals and grass and shit. Like, this doesn't make any sense. Call in Bloodsworth and Tessa. Here we go. Like, because it's a little weird. And
maybe they were attracted to the garden gnomes. You know, the statues, the little garden gnome statues. They were just like, "Are you one of us?" You know.
Yeah, I don't know if is that a decoration. I've been to Santa Fe many times, so I know like all the roads and all that stuff, and I'm adding a lot of indigenous culture in there, like
Hmm.
the I'm gonna mess it up. There's a like a governor's palace, which is but it's just like a nice area in the middle of Santa Fe's center where artists or indigenous artists sell their jewelry
Hmm.
mainly, but also like they'll do like leather bags and stuff like that. I have like all of my turquoise um, jewelry is from there.
Oh, that's
I
cool.
will not buy turquoise jewelry just from any old
Anywhere.
person. Um, and even if you go into the shops, like that doesn't mean that they,
They made it.
yeah. So it could be just like some random person that made it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, no, no, it's not."
It
Like
says
you're
made in
lying.
China on the back.
Yeah, and I'm like, no, thank you very much. I'll go down to, this way, and I know for a fact because I'm talking to them that they made it, and they had like little their initials carved
Yeah.
into the back of whatever jewelry it is. So I wanted that aspect of that book, and then going to the third book, it's DC again,
Hmm.
and then the fourth book is Seattle, jumping back to DC, and then the last book, the sixth book, unless the series becomes popular, then I can extend it. But the last book would be Dublin, and we're dealing with some vampires
Okay.
in
All
Dublin.
right.
So
Okay.
it's kind of like it is set up very, of course, because it has to be urban fantasy, or else it's not going to be urban
Yeah.
fantasy. And I just screwed myself over with that whole genre.
Yeah.
Do take
Urban.
Yeah, I do take like the area is what it is, and then we just throw
Yeah.
fairies and vampires in there.
You have consideration for the reality, like of what we know, and then you play with it.
Yeah.
And for me, all my books take place in an alternate world. It's not even Earth. It's its own, it's its own planet. All the races, like my humans, are called Hammerians. You know,
Mm.
and I
You're so
just like
original. Okay.
why are the Hammerians? Uh, but my goal was to be like, I just don't want to have to worry about any. I don't have to do any research. I don't have to worry about culture. I don't have to worry about terminology. I don't have to worry about anything because
You
it's all
do
made up.
epic fantasy, I'm
Yeah.
assuming.
Yeah, I do
How
epic.
long are those books? It's a lot. Yeah, yeah.
They're long. They're
I
long.
tried. I've
The
I've tried to do epic fantasy, and I'm like, why is this book 150,000 words and there's 8 books in the series? Why? That's where
Yeah,
I
yeah. I
am.
have I'm working on a saga right now, and the first book is at like 250,000 words.
Oh, no.
Ish.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
Wow,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm never gonna read it.
That's a
But
my dusty TBR.
yeah, right. Well, a lot of
A
a lot of
weapon.
the alpha readers, their big feedback is that it goes by quickly. Like they don't feel
Mm,
like, because I don't like exposition. I like character. I call it character exposition, where the
mhm.
story is discovered through the character's experiences, and not like we pause for a second and be like, "There's this MacGuffin we have to get." And like I don't do that. I don't do that. And my stories are mostly, everyone says this, character driven, but it's because I'm introspective, and it just so happens there's a world lived around them, and they go through their plot, but stuff is still happening, so you learn about the world because they're
Mhm.
interacting with it. But it's anything that comes up is always a seed. I'm a big seeder when it comes to story development, and I'm not like I love Lord of the Rings, but I
Mm.
would never write anything like that. I would never stop the story to go
Yeah.
into the history of something that it'll never pay off.
Mhm.
And obviously Tolkien is a master of his craft. He created the genre. He made it possible to be who we are, the Brandon Sanderses of the world, and the R.R. Martins and stuff. But I like to explore the reactionary elements of proactive characters, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. I don't know what I do. I just write, and that's my. People are like, "Oh, do you?" Well, I know I'm a pantser, but I do
Yeah.
have to work on that a little bit with the mystery thing because I need to, I need to know who killed someone, right? So I'm like somewhat a pantser-ish now with the urban fantasy detective series, um, which like in the middle, we're going for it. But I know who, like I know the the victims and what like all that stuff. I
Yeah.
would hope I do. Um, and then
Personally?
who done it, and then do little clues throughout. But I
Yeah.
think I might. I recently got "Take Off Your Pants." What is that? It's a really short book on plotting or whatever as a pantser.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was $8.99. I'm like, okay, we'll go for it. It's
It's
like
worth it.
only 200 pages or whatever. I like the shortness. It's concise.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's gonna work or anything, but I'm like, yeah, with the mystery stuff. Yeah, I think we need a little more structure, Nicole. We need a little more figure it out.
The
I'm just
best
like, I
advice,
don't know what's going on. Oh, it's great. No, yeah, no, we can't do that. It needs to make sense.
yeah, who killed who? The
Yeah.
best advice I ever got from mysteries, because I've written mysteries for screen, like movies and stuff.
Mhm.
And I was like, how do I write this? So the best advice I got was, even if you don't plot it out, start with start with the I solved the case. Like, what is the
Mhm.
case solved? And
Yeah.
then as a writer, just break it up for discovery. And now if you're going to pants it, you just have to put those little beats in wherever you want. But if you know what it looks like solved, and like how they're like, we figured it out, then you could take all the
Mhm.
elements that make it solved and scatter that through the book, starting with some of the smaller elements or some of the bigger elements. And that really helped me when I was because I'm an outliner now. I wasn't always an outliner. I wasn't a plotter. I was a big time pantser. But when I was writing the mystery, that made so much sense, because it's like, oh, now I
Mhm.
can pants, because I'm just
Yeah.
writing to these little tiny moments that will eventually be like Chinatown is solved, So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's always been interesting. But you are you trying to become a plotter, or do you like, and when you pants?
I just kind of I feel like I have to because I'm going a little slower with the
Mm.
writing, and it's like I'm not even like the Obsidian Murders is just under 50,000 words. It should not be this damn difficult, like, or it should not have been that damn difficult. Um, and I'm at 22,000 words for the second book, and I'm like, it shouldn't be this damn difficult.
Yeah.
I'm just like, how do we get to this point? Where am I? I don't know, but I do know the ending and all that stuff and how it looks. So it could also just be the ADD. And also, it's been a rough year. And it could also it could be a lot of things. It could also just be I'm not a fast writer.
Yeah, and there's
And
nothing wrong with that.
might not like because I was talking to a few people, and it was like, well, I could write a 80,000 word book, and that's one book a year. Or I
Yeah.
could write like, let's just round it up because I suck at math. Two 50,000 word books and have two books a year out
Yeah.
through like the Midnight Detective Agency book series and be done, with that. And then I also have two characters in mind that can branch off because they're cool and shit. But but then I would have to deal with what are we doing the mystery stuff with them? No, especially not um the in the third book. It's going to be that there is a shapeshifter that can shape shift into humans,
Okay.
and it's extremely rare, and so she hides out, and she has a lot of bodyguards, and all her bodyguards were murdered, and it's basically like she is extremely rare, and there's a point because you can make her turn into whoever person you want.
Yeah.
I mean, a little dangerous. But then I'm bringing in a half human, half elf female uh mobster.
Yeah.
They're like, "Are you do you traffic in these types of situations? Do you?" And she's like, "No, I don't. Thank you." But I could really see her being popular,
Yeah.
um, because being uh, half human and half elf, especially the elf side,
Yeah.
not too into human emotions, even though she has them. She's like a little bit like Spock, but also a bit vicious. Like she has no problem killing people,
Yeah.
um, but she tries to be moral about it. So she doesn't traffic humans.
Yeah.
She doesn't traffic drugs. She does partake, or her family, mob family partakes in gambling and stuff, but it's like, well, I mean, of course, you can be addicted to gambling, but I think she's like, what's the lesser of two evils? Also, what makes you money? I don't want to traffic in drugs. I'm not doing humans or
Yeah.
other beings whatsoever. So what do we have left? Okay, we've got gambling.
Well, that
All
should
right,
pay
we're
off.
gonna go for it. Like,
Yeah.
so she's trying her best. That person's trying her best. I can see that being a branch off, and then there's another one. I'm still working on that, but
Well, it sounds
that
like
one's
you're
not gonna.
loosely outlining because, like, you have the idea of the story. That's
Yeah,
technically outlining, like you just know where it's going.
I was going to go with the whole like what, like the first book for that half elf um, mobster was like she has to deal with her father dying, and she has a bunch of brothers, but they're psychos, and
Hmm.
she's killing them off.
She's the one killing them
Yeah,
off.
kind of like The Godfather.
Killing me softly
Yeah,
with my
yeah.
song.
And I was like, is this like an urban fantasy thing? I don't know. But sometimes like I think if a series does well and some like a bunch of people fall in love with this character, her name's Grace, the English
Mhm.
version.
Oh, with a
Of
Y? No.
Yeah. Grace. Yeah. It's like the I'm naming her after Grace O'Malley, who was the Irish pirate queen
Mhm.
during Elizabeth the First.
Yeah, yeah.
Um
First female pirate to have her own fleet, right, or something like that.
yeah. And that name's chosen deliberately by her father and all that stuff, because even though she's half elf, the mobsters aren't really huge on women doing that type of thing. So she's just killing a bunch of people off to get into that slot. And I'm like, is that urban fantasy? I don't know. We
Now,
could we could
for
work it.
for the people listening, though, I feel like I'm hosting my show. For the people listening, what is urban fantasy, and what elements need to be there for it to be urban fantasy? I'm
Well,
thinking
it has to,
city, but
yeah, it has to be in the city. There has to be magic. There has to be a magical sidekick, which that's easy to put in. It's not a
Mhm.
huge deal. Um, and then sassy or snazzy, usually female character, but you can also have a male character.
Mhm.
But the majority are female characters, and they have to kick ass somehow. So
Yeah.
she's definitely the Grace is definitely kicking ass somehow. We could, I think Tess is actually not as mainstream because she is human.
Mm.
Um,
No one likes them.
I know, she's so boring. But her magical ability is seeing other beings and interacting with
Oh
them,
yes, that girl.
um, and being psychic. Basically, she's psychic. It's just I don't want to use that word because it's just kind of, oh my
Yeah.
god, great. If
Well, it's
and it also,
precognition, right? She's just a precog.
well, she sees,
Oh no,
like
she
if
sees. Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
yeah, so it's like they're they're corporeal, but they are walking around. They're
Yeah.
So
Why'd you
it's
make a
like,
word up?
well, they're glamored, which I see a lot
Mm,
used in fantasy, so people will know what glamour mean. Like,
yeah,
um, but she can see through the glamour. And then
interesting.
she can also see ghosts. And she can also tell if someone's a vampire or a werewolf or some other shifter. It's just like a magical aura to
Yeah.
them. So, but I'm kind of sort of going off the train tracks with that because I've had people like the ARC readers and the beta readers, all that stuff, and my editor were like, "This is great. This is new." I'm like, "Yeah, let's see if it pays off," because she's human. She's not a demon slayer. She's
Yeah.
not a vampire. She's not half elf or whatever.
She doesn't
Um,
juggle, you know.
yeah,
She doesn't,
maybe I could get her to juggle. I don't know if
just,
that will do anything for
I don't
her,
know.
but
Maybe she bathes in blood.
yeah, well, like, yeah, I was talking to my writing coach who does like a lot of genres, but she's really successful in urban fantasy. And I'm like, is this good enough?
Yeah.
I don't know if it were like we're I don't know. She's like, look, a lot of people are sick and freaking tired of the Dresden Files. And how many damn books are of the Dresden Files? We're
30.
like at like, yeah, we're going really hard with the same thing over and over again. And he's just a wizard. It's not like he's elf. I don't know. He's not a vampire, he's not an elf. He's a human and he's a wizard.
Yeah.
So you're not far off. I think you'll be fine. I'm like, okay, we're
Now,
good.
when she coaches you, because I'm a developmental editor, right? That's when she coaches you, does she give you creative advice, or is it strictly like structural? Like she's like, look, creatively you do whatever you want, but structurally it has to make sense, and this is how it would make sense. Does she do that, and she leaves the creative side to you?
Oh yeah, so like the writing coach, I mean as like she's part of Brian Cohen's ad school, and I just ask her a bunch of questions about branding and marketing and genre expectations and all that stuff, which I am. That's why I asked her about like Tessa's human.
Oh, oh,
we're and she's not a witch,
yeah.
so we're. Am I just gonna, am
The
I gonna write
Mayfield
6
witches.
books? Yeah, am I gonna write 6 books and, like, it just farts all over itself? It's not gonna go anywhere? And, she's like, "No, like, Dresden Files, come on." Like, people are getting a little sick about that. And it's good to have like, you've I've done everything else. I even actually switched it to first person point of view. In the beginning, I was like, "Oh, okay." Because I was doing the research, looking inside all like the top 50 and top 100.
Yeah, they're first person. Yeah.
Yeah, they're first person. That's it. And I could not find a third person. And I wrote in third person because I thought I had to match my historical fiction stuff, which
Mm.
made no sense when I think about it now. No, no, I don't. But she's like, no, what are you seeing? What are you seeing, Nicole? I said, first person. And she's like, well, you have to decide. If you're going to change it to first person, leave it to third. But I'm going to tell you, it's going to be an uphill battle because there's a reason it's in first person. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
And so
because it's a mystery, right?
yeah,
You're saying.
I switched it to first person. I was like, shit, this is really fun. It
Mhm.
was fun when it was third person, but in first person, it's a damn well good time.
Yeah,
Why? Because we're going with Tessa. It's like you're Tessa, and it's like you have this house fairy that's untying your shoes because it's whatever. Okay.
yeah.
It's like you're Tessa and you're dealing with the house fairy Drusille that's untying your shoes in the middle of work, and you're like, stop it, stop it, stop. But you can't do this because you'll look like you're crazy. So you're just like,
It's like-
Drusille, stop it. Like, and then she gets home from work and she has a ghost living in her closet.
yeah,
George, adorable. He was poisoned. He died,
he died, and now he's a.
and now he's a ghost. And he's like a little fatherly figure, just hanging out in her closet. And
That's
then,
still fun.
yeah, and then, oh shit, there's a magical death right outside my
Yeah.
window. I'm the only one who can see it. Oh, there's the portal that spit out the body. And we're like, shit, here we are. Like, you're living through her. I totally get why it's
Yeah.
first person, not just because it's a mystery, but why urban fantasy is first person, because you're living this alternative universe with magic and you have a cute little sidekick
Yep.
and you're being a badass doing whatever you're doing. I'm like, okay, I got it now. There's a reason. It's not just because whatever. There is a reason, and then that's why there's the expectation for first person.
Plus, you get to see the process of the character, and I think that's the most interesting. Like how they like a Jack Reacher novel is first person, and you get to see, you realize how he's figuring out these cases, but he's not necessarily talking to people. But you get, you know, he's a character in the show. They had to obviously make him speak, but in the books,
Yeah.
he's very like internal, and he's so smart because of how he's doing it. I actually wanted to ask you a question because, are you know, like how male writers usually authors will write male characters and female authors will write female characters? Is that a choice you make where you're like, I just want to write female characters, and with that choice, do you write male characters?
Yeah, all my main characters are female, but there's a lot of male characters. Like I could have made Bloodsworth a female, I guess. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Thomas Bloodsworth, your name. um, he's him because there was actually in high school, I don't know what it was. I can't find this reference, but it was like a little mini documentary about like some blood disease or whatever.
Okay.
And it was this guy, this scientist's last name was Bloodsworth. I'm like,
that's a good last name.
ooh, yeah, I'm gonna
I will
take
be
that. And vampire, no shit. Like Bloodsworth, he's gonna be a vampire.
Perfect.
So it wouldn't work if Bloodsworth was a female. And for the historical fiction stuff, yeah, they're mainly surrounded by men. There are a few women, but that's kind of what I grew up with. I have more male friends than female friends, and if they are, then they're not really girly. Like, they're more, you know, artsy or plays soccer or something like that. Because I just am not very feminine and like in the usual, the stereotypical gender roles, and so it was really hard to make friends. And then so I would have like a few guy friends, and
and you felt safe with them.
Yeah. So I mainly have male main characters, and they're not well, Tessa's going to be the only one that doesn't have a love interest. She's just not that type of person. The other three do have male love interests, and they get together with that love interest, but they're also best friends. And I think like you have to, like, all of them start out as friends, and then it's best friends, and then it's love interests. And I think my most successful relationship would be my husband and I. And we started out as friends, best friends, in a relationship. And I don't always see that. And it's like, it's a long friendship, not just, oh, like we met, I don't know, like at a bar, and oh my God, we're gonna talk for a few weeks. That's friendship. And then no, like,
and then we're married.
Yeah. It's like, no, it's a while friendship. I think you get to know someone, and then you realize all of the things. I think it depends on the person, because it's based on your values and beliefs and all that stuff. But all the things you realize with this person, and there's no pressure, and then, oh yes, we're gonna choose to be together in a romantic way.
And dating friends is great because you get to learn who they are before you take that plunge. You know, you don't want to fall in love with someone and like 7 months later you realize they're crackheads. But what is your approach when writing male characters? Do you approach it differently than right? I don't personally change my approach. I kind of like focus on the psychological element of people. That's my approach. But like, do you have an approach to writing male characters versus say the female characters? Or men and women, whatever.
Yeah, I treat them as individuals with their own personalities. They're gonna sound a little different and they're gonna act a little different. But I make my each character into their, like, if they were an actual human being, and then I
or elf.
There. Yeah. Other being. Ghost. Well, no, he used to be a human. Okay, he's just dead now. Sorry, George. Yeah. George is like fatherly and he's just here to have a good time. He doesn't want to pass over. So that's kind of based on that. And Thomas Bloodsworth he was turned by a vicious vampire and he's almost 500 years old and his family was poor in Ireland. But now he's doing something that he loves and he's also helping people. But he's not like the hugest fan of technology. So he's trying his best.
Yeah.
But then there's also some stuff where it's like this is in the 21st century, and some things that Tessa and other people say, he's just like, what the fuck? So there's like great. They said, what's flossing? I don't know, but I'm gonna go with it, I guess, because I've lasted this long. I'm just going with it. And well, I think also like in Danu's Curse, I have Ness and then her cousin Mareed, who's 16 and Ness is 18, and Mareed's spoiled, but she's nice. You know, the kind of she's kind of like Charlotte in the Princess and the Frog animated version.
Not Charlotte from Charlotte's Web.
No, that would be interesting. No. That would be a different story. But yeah, she's a little spoiled because her dad is the chief of a huge tribe, and there are just some things that she was given that other people weren't. But she's girly. She loves dresses and shoes and all that stuff, but that doesn't mean that she is nasty. And I think I also chose that deliberately. And then there was also in A Patriot's Tale, which is just the straight up historical fiction, there is, like, at the end, Lily, the main character, meets up with Henry, who is her first love interest. He, in the very beginning, said, I had this girl, childhood love, Savannah, but she left with her family because the war is going on. They're loyalists, and it's just not going to work out. And so that was dropped. Boop. But then Lily and Henry kind of get together. But then she thinks that he's killed, and she is stuck. She's a spy for the American militia, and she teams up with Clayton, who was basically kidnapped by the British captain of this encampment town, and then they get together. But oh shit, Henry wasn't actually killed, and then Savannah comes back. And we're like, oh, it's a triangle, not even a triangle. It's a square. It's a square. What's going to happen? And one would think, oh, the Lily and Savannah are going to go like this. Oh my God, I want Henry. No, I want Henry. But what about Clayton? Well, Clayton's hot, but like I had Henry first. No, this is a difficult situation.
Yeah, they're gonna have to try polyamory.
And and they were like, it's a difficult situation, but you know what's actually more important? The war. And we're going to put this situation aside, and we're going to focus on the war and saving people's lives and not dying.
Yeah.
And that threw people off a lot because they're expecting it to be a cat fight. But
Mhm.
I'm not interested in cat fights. There's more like they are mature enough to understand that there's a war going on and we're gonna figure that out
Yeah.
versus we're gonna get into a fight because of boys. I was like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I disappointed some people. Some people didn't like that, but I I like deciding on things that aren't expected or on trend because you would think that they would fight kind of based on a lot of popular books.
Yeah.
No, I'm not doing that game. I don't have patience for that. So I
Yeah.
wanted to show that you can be mature and also focus on something that's more important and it's not cattiness.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of healthy relationships in novels and stories. Like, I don't think. I mean, it's okay if you do it once in a while, but like, it's so easy to just be like they're fighting because of miscommunication or they're fighting because someone's jealous. Like, that's a cop out to me. I like
Yeah.
when it's they're strong communicators and but external things create stress
Mhm.
or tension and they have to work through it together. But even and this is an arbitrary example, but even like if like their bills are piling up, like they're still a healthy couple,
Mhm.
but it's creating tension and activating, them it's
Yeah.
stress on them. And I think that's more interesting than just like, they're jealous or,
Yeah.
I did this thing and I'm just not going to say it. Like, and you just scream
Mhm.
at televisions when they do it. You go, just be like, hey, I did this,
Yeah.
forgive me or don't. If you don't forgive me, we got to move on. If it's going to be worse.
Mhm.
It's going to be way worse if we wait 3 months and then I'll be like, by the way, I killed your cat.
Yeah.
Like by accident. I ran it over by accident, but I didn't want to tell you. So I lied, which makes it worse. The accident
Yeah.
part you could forgive and work through it. But the lying, now they're a liar
Mhm.
and they're afraid of
Yeah.
confrontation. You're like, that's not interesting to me. That's contrived. That's just fake tension, in my opinion. I mean, people do that,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
just don't want to write that. It's not my make up tea.
Yeah. I like not having the expectation of or I would say like the stereotype of certain uh characters.
Hmm.
Like you would think that Marie would be nasty because she's spoiled. No, she's really nice.
Which is great,
She just loves dresses, okay? um,
right?
and yeah, and you would think maybe like, oh, the ghost in the closet, he was poisoned by his wife to collect insurance. Oh, he's gonna be scary. No, he's very nice. He's in a crisp tux because bad timing with the rat poison, but
Yeah,
he's looking good and he's very supportive. You wouldn't think that, but I think it's more fun.
yeah.
I think, and
It's more fun.
do you really want to have like a scary, violent ghost for every single book that you read? I don't.
No,
I don't.
no. But
Yeah.
scary characters are good, but
This
you
isn't a
gotta
horror
still,
novel.
yeah,
This is a urban fantasy mystery series,
yeah.
and I wanted to throw in the wrench and give George some fun times.
Would you say your books lead more towards I know this fantasy, but like realism with the dramatic elements, or is it more fun and like loose, casual with comedic elements? And it just so happens is like, for example, the mystery book is happening.
Yeah, probably the second one, because there's well, my three standalone novels are actually really serious with a little bit of jokes around or lightheartedness. But this one, the urban fantasy, is lighthearted with seriousness in it. Like, and I don't think you can get around the fact that there are going to be difficult topics because that's life.
Yeah.
But it's like, how are the characters going to deal with, like for Tessa, there's a dead body outside, and
And I need eggs.
someone magical did it. Like, how are we gonna figure this out? But The whole thing is, okay, we're going to do it as a team, and I'm going to use this ability that I have that um, got me in trouble as a kid in the past. But now I'm gonna use it for good. And oh yeah, I'm making friends along the way, and I'm also strengthening friendships that I've already had, but based on
Yeah.
working together and maturing with jokes. um, I'm better off, and we're putting away people that need to be put away because you
Yeah.
murdered someone.
They're
You're
doing
gonna
their
go.
job. Yeah, you
You
gotta
gotta
go.
go.
You
You
gotta
gotta
go.
go. Mm-mm.
Yeah, you gotta
Right.
go. But I do like that you do that, and one of the things that the alpha readers have been saying, especially about one of the antagonistic characters isn't really like a bad guy, quote unquote, but they're the antagonist, the protagonist. And they were like, I love that the character ended up not being just the foil or just the I'm against this person. Like there ended up being depth to them, and that
Mhm.
like their motivations are extremely clear, and it's not them being vindictive. It's them just working through the reality of the situation. And
Yeah.
and I always I just don't get me wrong. Like if I'm watching a movie or reading a book and like I just want to be entertained and eat my popcorn, a good guy versus
Mhm.
a bad versus a good is always fun. But when I'm writing, I like that it's not. I'm not saying I write morally great characters, but I like that the story is based on that reality that they're just positions we take, and it doesn't necessarily
Mhm.
make us good or bad. It's just this is my moral ground, which could be different than their moral ground, and so forth and so forth, and just seeing them kind of work through that. But sometimes I like to watch transforming robots from outer space fighting each other and
Yeah.
not really worry about the plot. Like there's
Yeah.
Optimus Prime. Like give me a good time. But
Yeah. My editor for Danny's Curse, the Irish historical fantasy one.
Mhm.
She was like, "Well, oh, this is great. Yeah, don't really need to do much. It's pretty clean." I'm like, "Fuck yeah!" But she's like, if you want to, Maris, he's not like he's not bad, really bad or anything, and it's because Ness, the main character, agrees to marry Maris, a prize warrior, to bring peace between two clans. And I'm like, yeah, it's pretty subtle. He's not a great guy, but he's not bad either. The
Yeah.
subtlety is that he knew that these other clans, including um, Ness's uncle, who's one of the clan leaders, um, is working with a very evil god, the god of the underworld, and wants to basically become king of all of Ireland.
Mm.
Um, yeah, he's bad, but he's not.
A bad guy.
Yeah, because he wants to be the prize warrior of the king of Ireland.
Yeah.
That means that thousands of people are dying and dead, and yeah, you're siding with a very bad god. So it's very subtle. And so she's like, you could bring that up, like you could make him treat Ness horribly or something like that, and then it would make sense. Or maybe bring more drama as to why like she ultimately runs away and whatever. And I'm like, that's not the whole point of the book.
Yeah.
I don't. You could. I could easily see making him like berate her and be a little more like mentally or emotionally abusive. But that I was like, if you're not going to pick up on the subtlety, then
Yeah.
like,
You don't have to hit somebody to be evil.
yeah,
you
I
know,
don't. Yeah,
it
and
seems like
that was
that critique falls under the this is the book I would write critique, and not necessarily like structural critiquing. People were like, I would make them get together. Like I think that would be stronger. And like, yeah, for the book you want to write, not the book I'm
yeah.
writing.
Well, it's like if you want to add like even more word count or what, I forget what she said. This was like a year and a half ago or something. I don't even know. But it was like you could add like he him make him more unsympathetic because he's a little sympathetic right now. And I'm like,
But
that's fine. But
that's
you kind
great
of have
for her.
to, yeah, but you kind of have to like think about it. And like he has sided with the bad side. And he didn't tell Ness anything. He was like, "Oh, yeah, she's gonna be totally okay with her uncle taking over the whole island, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna get a hot wife out of this." I'm like, that's not great. I don't know. Like, he doesn't need a. I guess there is a problem. There's a problem with readers and writers, but specifically readers that are not great at comprehending
Mm.
things.
Yes, agreed.
So you kind of have to just like shove it in their face, and I don't particularly like doing that.
Yeah.
But I've heard that a lot, and it's across all genres. It doesn't matter the genre. Um, that they want like the drama turned up way high, and they want you to they want the writer to tell them things like this person's bad.
Yeah.
I was like, or you read the book and you think about it and you're like, okay, he's a little shitty,
Yeah.
but I have to think about it. Sorry, you have to think about it.
Yeah, and it's kind of fun when you decide if they're bad or good, like as the
Yeah.
reader. Like, like you might look at the protagonist and be like, I can sympathize, but I don't agree. I kind of agree with
Mhm.
Thanos. Like it's like,
Yeah, yeah.
you know what I'm saying? And um I the thing is, if people don't understand it, you take the majority return. So like if the
Mhm.
majority people are understanding your story, don't write for the minority. And I'm
No.
not saying the minority as in like nationality. I'm saying minority as in like the minority of people who don't understand the story. And
Yeah.
I came into one person out of my readers that was like, you should recap the chapters through the chapter so we
Oh.
remember. And I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, because this thing happened. It was like so long ago. I was like, that happens in the chapter directly before the chapter. You said I should add a recap of the chapter.
Yeah, they have bad like the reading comprehension is a problem in the United States. It is. I ran a tutoring center for quite a few years on the East Coast, and
Mhm.
I mean, all things are a problem. They're not the students of every grade level, doesn't matter, have problems with math, reading comprehension, writing,
Yep.
science, history. Just say it. It's like it's just everything, but specifically on the reading and the reading comprehension, they can read out loud well, but then you say, "What happened?" You're like, "I don't know." You're like, that's the second half of the point of reading.
There was a dragon, right? No, there
No,
was
there
no
wasn't.
dragon.
I was like, "Are you paying attention?" Because for and this was, I mean, I learned this when I was younger, when I was reading on my own. You can read, but are you paying attention? And then are
Yeah.
you actually comprehending? And at first, I didn't think that that was a thing. No, it's a thing.
Yeah, no, I mean,
It's
it's
a
reading
thing.
comprehension.
Yeah, you
It's
have to
reading.
pay
Okay.
attention to the words that you're reading or saying out loud, and not be thinking about lunchtime or
Yeah.
what you're going to do after school.
Yeah, like that person who gave me critique, they were like, your sentences, what you should do is just make them direct. And I was like, what do you mean? And they're like, you should be like, they open the door, they enter the
No.
room, and I was like, why? And it's like, because it's hard to understand that, like, they like, what do you mean they're cautiously moving through the hallway as they duck under, the beams to avoid hitting it? Like, what does that mean? It means that they're tall. It,
Yeah.
it means they're being cautious. It means, yeah, but why don't you just say they go through the hall? They're tall and it's difficult to go through the hall. And I was like, because that's not an interesting immersion.
Yeah. Well, I think we're stuck on children's books. Um,
Yes.
but even children's books will say he laughed happily. Like,
Yeah. He dashed through the field
yeah.
unbeknownst to the sun's rays and jumped for each, whatever. And you're like, oh, okay.
I mean, children books use a lot of adverbs with the ly, but like at least it's yeah, it's there. Like he walked through the door sad. That's what that person wants. He
Yeah,
walked through the door sad, and then he sat down
yeah,
on a red chair and cried. Okay, well, why? 'Cause
yeah.
I am lost.
Yeah, why is it crying? Why I don't see what's going on. And then there's
But
like
the
backstory.
level, yeah, the reading comprehension level is the kids don't understand why. They're
Yeah.
just like, oh, I walked into a room sad and then sat down and cried. I do that all the time, actually. I relate.
I'm always
But you have to
sad.
get more experience to understand, like, there's more to the story, isn't there? Like, what
Yeah.
trauma have you gone through? Like, you're doing that all the time? I would like
That,
to know.
that's why I watch Looney Tune cartoons differently as
Yeah,
an adult than when I was a kid, you know?
yeah.
He was just hitting him in a cartoon when I was a child. Now I'm like, I get it. I would be hitting him. Like I understand
uh,
the depth of this emotional trauma. But yeah, that's what do you do with that kind of like that feedback? When I'm talking the minority feedback, where it's just like a random, but they're so passionate about it, and they're just telling you how the book should be based on what they would write, and they're not necessarily critiquing the book you wrote.
hmm.
How
Well,
do you
that
deal with that?
I haven't gotten enough readers
Hmm.
that dislike my stuff. I'm sure, the more readers I'll probably get some of it. It's fine.
Well, do you
I
use
did
the same alpha readers every time, or do you add on to that list? Because I'm
I
at like 10 or 12 now, but
I don't do beta or alpha readers anymore.
oh, okay.
Um, I've written too many books. Just, oh God. And it's also like, what thing can you uh, take off that is stressing you out that you don't necessarily need? At this point, I feel like I don't need them anymore. And the continual feedback with my current editor is like, yeah, this is a really clean, it's clean, makes sense. I don't see any plot holes. I see character development and the plot's going well and all that stuff. And I'm like, okay, I don't need, I used to, um, but I think I write so much. And then I also did a lot of work on the craft and like reading those nonfiction books, even if I might disagree with, some stuff. I mean, it's better to try out a book and see what you can take away from it. Um, and then also, I read a lot and I forget who it was. And I didn't read the book, but I think it's Chris Fox, where he says in a particular book of his, like, if you read enough books in a particular genre, you're unconsciously at a certain point just going to do those beats
Mm,
because you've read 200 historical fiction books. Yeah, you know it by this point. You're not like writing it out word for word and with every single beat, but you're unconsciously have are doing it, which that's basically what I did for the historical books because I still read so much historical fiction that I understand
yeah.
what needs to be done and what in place and all that stuff. Um, I did get a 2-star for Teal Nostalgia, and she said, "Oh well, the trauma stuff, the poetry about the trauma was okay, but I just can't relate." And I'm like, "Good."
Okay.
It's good that you can't relate. I have concerns when someone can relate
Yeah.
with that particular chat book. So I am actually thankful that you don't relate to the trauma poems, especially about the child abuse. That would be I would want to have a heart to heart, which I've had with readers that have said in direct messages or anything like that. I really related to Teal Nostalgia.
Yeah.
I cried, but it was really healing. And, like, they'll say whatever, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, yeah, let's let's talk about that if you want to." And most of the time they do. And
Yeah.
then a few of them have said, "Okay, then how?" But like the ending poem is, "I have no more poems left to give, for I am healed." How do you heal? Like, you don't
Yeah.
write poetry anymore. And you've said in other places, and I'll say it here now, that I wrote most of those poems in trauma therapy. It was one of the therapies that really helped. And I said, trauma specialist, basically.
Yeah.
And it was 6 years of intense therapy, not just for PTSD. But then when I got over the PTSD, I also had to work on the generalized anxiety disorder and then the OCD,
Mm.
because they're all playing against each other.
Yeah.
Um, but really, what you have to do for PTSD is start with that, because you have to heal and recover from PTSD through whichever specific trauma therapy that you and your trauma specialist talk about. I did a lot of them. um, because if you do other therapies, you're going to trigger yourself, and like legitimately trigger yourself, not like, oh, my feelings are hurt. Like, you're bringing on flashbacks of a traumatic event, and
Yeah.
then you have a panic attack and you can't function for 5 hours. We don't want that to happen. So that's why you go with trauma therapy first, and then work your way through any or whatever mental illnesses you have left. I have 6, so it took 6 years. It's like one
Oh, so
year
you got a
per
free sub.
series. Yeah,
You
yeah,
got a free sandwich.
yeah. It was great.
I brought in my card. They were like, "Oh,
Yeah.
get her a sandwich."
Yeah. I need a lot of sandwiches. But when I talk to the readers of Teal Nostalgia, if they reach out and they're like, "Wait, you have 6?" You're like,
Six.
"What? Oh, and you're okay. You're recovered. Like, you're in recovery. You don't have. Okay, so what did you do?" I'm like, well, I think it's a I and it could be for them that they always write poetry. I don't have that need or feel anymore.
Yeah.
I don't. So I do other things, but it's a lifestyle change, and it's a continual choice that you're going to not let your mental illnesses dictate your life,
Yeah.
especially OCD. Um, And so, like, yeah, we just have this great conversations, even though it's like a good and bad. Like, I don't like hearing that you have this horrible trauma and you sobbed, for hours after
Yeah.
reading the chat book. However, you start on your path, and I can tell you uh, how to, go about it, and give you a bunch of links and resources, and that's worth it. And not the, "Oh, I can't relate." So I'm like, I'm really glad you can.
Yeah. You didn't write the book for I can't relate. You wrote the
Yeah,
book for you and people relate to it,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I get it. It's I mean, no one should write for an audience anyway. You got to write your stories, and you want those stories to connect with people, and it's going to connect with the right people. It's going to connect with the
Mhm.
people that can see what you've lived through your characters and through your stories and through your poems and through your, because I think it's one of the double-edged swords of being a very talented creator is that through what we experience and see, we can hone these finely craft characters that have depth because we know that pain. We know the joy we wish we could feel sometimes. We know the trauma. And um, I sometimes read books and I think to myself, this person's never been in love, or this person's
Yeah.
never had to, lose somebody, or this, you know, uh, like
Mhm.
reading Aragon, the first book, Aragon, you're just like, and then you realize it was a kid and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, it was a
Well, it's
child.
for yeah, I read that in middle school and I really loved it. it's definitely like if you're reading as an adult, it's not gonna work out.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not gonna work out. I don't know. You're not
Not
gonna
gonna work out.
like it.
Yeah.
But I read that when like a year or two after it was like traditionally published or whatever. I had no idea that he was going around basically selling it with his dad or parents or whatever,
Yep.
just to help them pay the bills. I'm like, so alrighty then, we have some questions on that, but good for you, Christopher.
Good for
Um,
you.
and I remember, and it's a great memory where I'm reading Aragon and I'm really excited, and but I can't pronounce the dragon's name, Saphira.
Oh,
And so
Superior.
I asked Mr. Smith, shout out Mr. Smith. And I'm like, can you tell me how to say that? Because it doesn't make it looks like sapphire, but it's not.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's Saphira. It's a little
Sophia.
weird. And
Yeah.
it's like and he's like, once you get into fantasy, you'll just figure out like some things just doesn't make sense. But you just go with it because it's fantasy. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh yeah. And then I read all those books like just like this, and I was like really excited. And then that's how I got into more like higher up. Like I went for adult fantasy because I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just gonna eat this shit up. And whatever with the names because Mr. Smith said so.
Yeah, you know, because most people are just reading anyway. Go, he
Sapphire.
turned to blah, blah, and
Yeah.
you know, like,
Or yeah, you think it's sapphire. I don't know. Like I was trying. I was like, it's not sapphire. I don't know why I was obsessed with this particular dragon. Well, probably because I love the dragon.
oh
Sophia
yeah,
is great. I like when I was like, I need to get this right because she's amazing. Like she's real. But
Aragon, do you feel my magic?
yeah, like as a seventh or sixth, whatever, in middle school, you're like, oh no, but like it's serious. I gotta get this right. Mr. Smith, help me. I'm gonna have a panic attack because I can't pronounce this dragon's name.
Consider you helped.
Yeah. Oh my god. But yeah, I just read whatever I wanted, which was really great. And then my grandmother had fiction and nonfiction books all over the place in her house, so I would just pick some stuff up, and even if it was mainly adult books, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I don't know about that, but you can read it, and if you have a hard time, come talk to me about it."
Yeah.
So there were some books where I'm like, nope, I'm gonna put that over here. I don't need to have a sex scene.
Exotica. I mean, erotica,
Like
whatever.
it was a romance. It was a historical romance book. I thought it was just historical fiction
Yeah.
because that's what she mainly has, and then some.
It was a historical
nonfiction.
moment for you.
Yeah, and so, but I picked it up, and there's like a very graphic sex scene, and I'm like, because I'm 12. And I'm like, no.
I don't need the Papa Piper in the cave.
I'm like, oh my god, Nana, why is this on your shelf? She's like, oh my god, you have to look at the cover. If there's like the bare chest, that's romance, sweetie. It's like, you should have told me before. And again, why is this on the shelf? And she's like, well, you know your cousin, she loves those books, so I just get them from the dollar store whenever she is here. I put it in this, and I'm just like, well, I've been traumatized, thank you very much.
That's funny.
And she's like, well, here's an actual historical fiction book, go read it,
Grandma. This is the Bible.
She had so she was a spiritual science minister.
Okay.
So she went they don't have that anymore.
They don't have
Right. Like
Bible.
the school that she went to in DC, it's closed. But it's like they studied, it was just about religion. They studied every religion possible, basically. And then after, I don't know how years, a few years, the minister, she could marry you in whatever religion that you wanted. And then she also did like spiritual counseling, whatever. And so for a very long time, I didn't know that there were different religions. I just thought it was all but then they kind of just
Linked together
different
somehow?
thoughts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like you can see like Buddha's right
I
here.
see the Buddha.
But you can see Buddha up there. That's like 50 or 60 years old. She got it from a Buddhist monk from I don't even know where. And then there's a wooden hand that you see in some of my videos. It has Ganesh on one side and I think it's Krishna on the other side. She got that from Hindu friend,
Mhm.
and I don't know, they went to India and they brought it back. So like, there's just stuff that I have from her that you can tell you're just like, you're an atheist, and why do you have Buddha? I would like to know.
Yeah, it's
I'm
like, "Well, I
like,
have my grandma's Buddha."
yeah, uh, a 56-year-old Buddha. Like, what am I going to trash it? No.
Yeah,
Also,
yeah.
it's not going outside. It's supposed to be an outdoor garden,
Yeah, in a
whatever thing.
garden, yeah.
But no, it's hanging out, you know.
She's like,
But
"Look at me."
yeah, and so the nonfiction stuff was Joseph Campbell and the Bible,
Oh.
or things like that I read all the time, and I have all of her Joseph Campbell books just scattered around, which I don't even think they're in print anymore. Some specific ones, so holding on to that, and that is where the neo paganism and the Wiccan stuff came from, because she was neo pagan,
Yeah.
and then she joined a Wiccan coven. Oh, but like it didn't. She was like, I don't like this structure.
The
I was like,
furniture was itchy.
yeah. I was
This
like,
is all made of
yeah,
Wicca.
yeah. But like it was like a lot of like, well, she's like, I don't like this structure. You have to climb up a ladder. I've been on that damn ladder for how long?
Yeah.
How long?
You
These
gotta go up the rung.
priestesses, yeah, she's like, these priestesses that are 50, I'm 65 for one thing. Another thing, I know more shit than they do. I was like, all right, grandma.
Yeah, we need erotica.
Yeah, like go for it. But they're like so there are like Wiccan covens in the Midnight Detective Agency.
Well, that's cool.
I just there are just things that you might not hear about, or you have like like the stereotypical, like they're sacrificing
Oh, yeah.
people to Satan. Yeah,
Which
right.
they don't, yeah, it's like,
Yeah, that's not it.
they
That's
don't do that.
Satanism.
Yeah.
It's not what.
It's a very specific part of Satanism. It's not even
Yeah.
Satanism in general. Satanism has nothing to do with Satan. Like,
Oh
most
yeah,
people don't realize that. It's
yeah,
self-serving, but it's not
yeah. I
it's
have the oh wait, the Satanic Bible on my
mhm.
shelf as well.
The Necronomicon? No, all right.
The one Anton LaVey. I
Yeah,
gave it like,
Anton.
it's like 3.5 out of 5 stars. The first half is pretty good
Yeah.
for that time where it was kind of breaking down
Oh.
Christianity, but then like the second half is the rituals, which is the point of the Satanic Bible, and I'm like, I don't care.
I
I'll
don't
just do
need
the
it.
first half.
What am I
I
gonna
don't
do
need
with
to
a
do
goat?
these yeah, I don't need these rituals. Thank you very much. You're just like surrounded, like you're around a pentagram, and
Mm.
Anton LaVey's in his throne up there. Like, I don't care.
Mr. Crowley.
Yeah.
Down, down, down. What went on inside your head?
If we get copyrighted for that, I'll be upset.
All right.
And you're gonna have to talk to your friends in the music industry and not have that copyright.
Yeah, I'll give
Yeah.
a shout out to Aunt Ozzy, because he
Yeah.
looks like an Aunt Ozzy now. But
Uh,
all right, Miss Nicole.
yeah.
It's getting
I
close.
was gonna say
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Yeah. We're gonna close it out at a hour and a half. No, actually. Well, I say an hour and a half, but we're gonna probably have to cut out like a 5 minutes because my technology said I hate StreamYard. So there is that one section somewhere that I have to figure out. You'll figure it out when you're watching, because it's awkward. But I swear everything else was we were winging it. We're having a fun time like usual.
Mhm.
And I hope you had a fun time as well. If not, then poo poo for you. But we laughed, and we didn't cry, but we laughed. And
Yeah.
I think we had a great conversation.
Yeah, we
especially
had
with
fun.
our similar shirts. We're gonna eat ramen after the we're all up. So
Yeah, Wiccan ramen.
yeah, yeah.
It's gonna be Boston ramen. It's wicked. It's wicked good. It's wiccan. It's
That's
wicked
so
good.
good. All right. Thank you so much, Thomas. All that information about Thomas. Not Thomas Bloodsworth, but Tom. I think it's funny because his your last name also starts with a B. Okay, I didn't plan it like that.
My real last name is actually Bloodsport.
Yeah. He's a 500-year-old vampire, people.
Yeah, yeah.
All that information about Thomas, if you want to find him, is in the description box. And we'll see you next time with another surprise visitor that I've known for quite some time. So that might be a long conversation, longer than this one. I don't know. We'll see. But we're not going to share similar shirts, so maybe it's not going to be as cool. But we'll see.
The garb will be different.
So
Oh, we cried. We just cried.
Yeah, we cried. Yes, we nailed it. Okay. Oh, thank you so much, everyone, and have a great day. And yeah, we're just gonna cut it off because we're awkward today. Bye bye.
Ciao, Bella.
Bye bye.